Did I tell you that today's topic is the favorite topic I've ever had and also my least favorite topic I've ever had?
That can't possibly be true.
Yeah. It's in a quantum superposition. The cat is both dead and alive.
It's both on and off.
Cat, I mean my savings. Hey, Matt Robison. This is 5 Minute Finance, the show where we won't bore you with generic financial information. We make it easy to understand what to do with your money. In this case, throw it away, shovel it to institutions of higher learning. Before we get to that, I'm your host, Matt Robison, with certified financial planner Mike Morton. And we're going to help parents who, like us, want to just lighten the load. Mike, are you going to lighten my load or are you going to bum my stuff out today, man?
I'm gonna bum everything out. I'm gonna make this intro longer because I just want to see how long you can go on one breath. So next time we do this, the opening, I'm gonna just add a few more sentences.
I am going to hold my breath until my kids' college is paid off, and that is what we are talking about today. Your topic of the day, which, like, when I saw your headline and your notes of what you wanted to talk about, I was like, sweet. I really, really like. I want to know more about this, right? And then I started thinking about it a little bit more, and it's like, but I feel stressed just talking about what does college cost. That's your topic today. And hang on for our usual segments today. We've got a listener question that ties in very much to this. How much does college cost? Everything. It costs everything question. And stay tuned for a practical piece of news you can use that's also a mixture, a strange mixture at the end for our one thing segment of it's kind of a bummer. And it's kind of useful. It's kind of good. So, all right. Mike, college costs way a lot, but it's a little bit more nuanced than that, right?
No, it just costs all your money, Matt. Whatever you have, the piles and piles of money, just shovel, like you said, shovel them out. College, it's crazy, man. College is now broken, $100,000. That's per year, Matt. That's not all 4 years.
Yeah. Okay. But that's the depressing part. But there's a reason, I think, all joking aside, that you wanted to do this topic today, because I think you have a take home for people, which is that actually arming yourself with a little bit of information, not like tons of FAFSA form level information, but a little bit about what college actually costs and what the drivers are and what the payment sources are, that can help families out a little bit.
Absolutely. So I've been having this conversation a lot recently as we're in the springtime and students are getting their notifications where they're getting accepted and deciding where they're going to go. And then parents are like, whoa, this is, things are becoming real now. And then I'm also, having a lot of conversations with people that have in sophomores or juniors in high school about they're starting to look around at colleges and seeing how much these things cost. And so I like to and people freak out. So if you find yourself freaking out when you're looking at online how much colleges are costing and just the numbers, they're so large. But just calm down for a minute. We're going to go over it today because very few people pay that sticker price. So you'll see, online, or you'll read how much, this school's $80,000, this school's $90,000. But very few students pay that full price. And we'll break it down today. But the stat is in 2020, the statistic was only 26% of in-state college students and only 16% of private college students paid that full sticker price.
Wow. All right. Let me read that last one back to you as part of reading back your entire key point. So what you're saying is if you're going in state, only about 1 in 4 students is paying the full boat, and only about 1 in 6 is paying the full sticker price if you're out of state. So it's worth, before you hit the full-fledged freak out on the cost of college, it is worth wading into just a little bit of the details.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we're going to get into those details. Why, where's the rest coming from? If that's the price, where's that money coming from? And the first place that people look at is, need-based financial aid. Well, financial aid, and then when you think financial aid, most people are need-based. oh, this is financial aid, right? Or, if I don't quite make a lot of money and the college costs a lot of money, a lot of institutions will accept students and then give them financial aid packages. And so there's this need-based financial aid, but there's also merit-based financial aid. So again, a lot of the people I've talked to, it's like, oh, there's no way I'm going to qualify for financial aid. And what they mean is there's no way I'm going to qualify for need-based financial aid. Hey, we make good incomes, we've saved a lot, we have the 529 accounts. And so I'll be just paying, this $85,000 a year school. I'm just going to have to pay that entire thing.
Got it. All right. Well, then let's wade in. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about what we mean by sticker price and what the alternative to sticker price is.
Yeah, sticker price is what you read on the website, what you read on the college. So as soon as you go there and you hit the tuition page, boom, it's like right at the front, right at the top. So that's that sticker price. It's like when you go to the car, right? When you're going car shopping and you see the MSRP, it's like, boom, that's the sticker price. But sometimes there's deals or incentives or other things. And so when we're talking about colleges, what you can do there's the sticker price. That's how much it costs. That's tuition. It's room and board. Might be some other stuff on there. And that's usually the full boat. But from there, you can start deducting things like, hey, if you get need-based financial aid, that's one. Merit-based financial aid could be another one. Grants and scholarships can make up a significant portion, depending on your student and what they go after. There are so many opportunities out there to get thousands of dollars here and there that can really add up. And so those are the things that kind of come off of. And then finally you have loans as well. Actually, I should mention, you could take out, your student can take out loans, you can take out loans to help pay those bills.
So you may be thinking to yourself going into this, I've heard about sticker prices and I've heard about, all these things that give me a net price, but that doesn't apply to me. But it might apply to you. You really do need to look. Everyone's situation is different.
Yeah. And like we said at the top, very few students pay the full price, very few. And the average fee is about 50%.
50%.
Okay, so the average student is paying 50% of that full ride. All right. Let me give you, I think before we go any further, let me give you a real world example.
Sure.
Because this came across my screen just recently. A friend of mine got accepted. They decided she's going to go to Bard College, which is fantastic school. And the sticker price, Matt, $91,000 per year. So $91,000 a year. It's like, holy smokes, 4 times $91,000. That's going to be a lot of money. So
that's math, people.
That's math right there.
Tell your kids if they want to get into a good school on their SAT, just say, yeah, it's a lot. The answer to this math question is a lot. Well, that'll work.
Oh, speaking of test questions, Matt, I keep hearing this, that all the tests, people aren't submitting them anymore. Less than half the students are submitting their test scores with their college application. And in fact, they're so test optional, the average keeps going up, because less and less people submit, because you only submit if you're above average. And so if you're the average or below, you no longer submit. And so the average submissions keep going up and up.
It feels like there's a Moneyball thing happening here where it used to be, like the whole early 2000s Oakland A's thing where it's like certain characteristics were undervalued in baseball players. Maybe it's the same thing going on with college admissions where, for a long time it was like your essays, your extracurriculars, that's the killer app that'll get you into schools. And now with a decrease in people bothering to take the test and submit the scores, maybe that's the new thing. If you've got it, flaunt it.
Yeah. Exactly. I think everything helps. Let's go back to the example. Bard, $91,000 a year. Okay. But this student got merit-based aid, which we'll talk about, and she got $21,000. So right off the bat, we went from 91 to her actual price is going to be $70,000 a year. Which is a significant difference, $21,000 a year. She qualified for some loans, $6,000 of unsubsidized federal loans, so $6,000 a year. And then her grandparents decided they would kick in $10,000 a year, which is fantastic and wonderful. But again, a lot of my families I work with fall in this category. Their parents have saved a little bit, might help out a little bit. So hey, we were going to kick in $10,000 a year. And then they had pre-saved in their 529, which we talk about all the time. They had pre-saved $30,000 a year that they can have. So that $91,000, subtract out, all these bits and pieces, and they only have to cover $24,000 a year from their income.
Wow. That is a big difference. So the difference between $91,000 a year and $24,000 a year times 4 is a lot, is what my math teachers tell me. That is a lot. Let's talk a little bit about the financial aid piece of this, because you mentioned a moment ago that you may actually get sources of financial aid that you don't think you could or might not know about going in. Could you just give us the thumbnail on financial aid?
Yeah, there's 3 different ones, there's 2, need-based and merit-based. So need-based is based on your income and assets. And so you submit all these with the FAFSA form, the CSS. You could do, each college has their net price calculator you can input information into. I highly recommend, we're not going to go into the FAFSA and CSS, but I highly recommend doing that. Even if you make a bunch of money and there's there's no way I'm going to qualify, you still want to fill out those forms. Need-based, obviously, as your income goes up and your assets go up, you might qualify for less of that. But even at $200,000 a year of income or even $250,000 a year of income, you could still qualify for need-based financial aid. It just really depends on, every college is totally different. So don't think yourself priced out of it's I make, I make over a couple $100,000. Yeah, you could still qualify. So take the time to look into the specific schools that your student is interested in. But typically, I would say, need-based is phasing out at around those couple $100,000 a year of income.
I see. And as part of that, they are taking into account your savings, your college savings that maybe. Yep. So, you and I have talked about this, and I urge people to go back in the feed or go to mortonfa.com, your website, if you want to find some of our previous coverage of 529 accounts. I mean, 529 accounts, I'm searching for a super short answer here because we covered this in full episodes, but 529 accounts are a little weird from the standpoint of you're saving, and every dollar you save is going to end up being taxed at 100% by the university or college that your kid ends up going to, because it all gets sucked out. But your point then, and I'm sure as now, is the 529 savings proposition is still worth it, even though when you fill out these forms and they evaluate your need, they're going to say, oh, you've got that pot of money saved away, and we're going to take all of it. You're still better off having that pot of money there than kind of rolling the dice on, well, if I have less, they might assess more need.
Yeah. Trust me, you will always be better off having saved for college. I run across this all the time. People are like, but wait, they're going to just take all that money. Shouldn't I just buy myself a new truck instead? I'm like, no, no, because then you'll have a new truck and you'll be paying for college. So you'll be paying for college no matter what. The pre-saving for it is a fantastic idea. And just to let you know, they only count, Matt's saying, they're going to suck out all that money, which they will because you're going to be paying for college, but they only count it at 5 or 6%. The amount you save. So if you saved $100,000, they're actually going to say, hey, out of all the savings, $100,000 in your 529, another $50,000 in your brokerage or checking and savings account. They only count that at 5 or 6% towards what you can pay for college.
Really?
Right. So they don't count it. Yeah, they don't count it at 100%. I never knew that. Oh yeah. Yeah. So we should have another episode.
Well, that's a headline right there.
That's why you save.
Yeah. No, that's a really great piece of news you can use, because it is, as you said, it's so common. I mean, I've had this thought myself. It's why bother? Right? Why bother? Because it's all going to get taken. And that is the reason why. That's great. The only other one that I wanted to make sure to sting in this is the net price calculator. That's available on many college websites. That's another one that I haven't seen before. That wasn't a thing when we were looking at colleges, but it's a thing now.
Yep. Yeah, and that'll help you. Again, like the FAFSA, you're filling out like a ton of stuff about your income and assets and all that. And then it goes out to like all the colleges. But every one of the colleges has their own like net price calculator, which is very similar. It's going to tell you how much you might get. Now, some colleges are really upfront, Matt. It's very fascinating. Like I mentioned the merit-based. Let's talk about merit-based aid. This is just, how good of a student are you? And I'm not saying you have to be like valedictorian or even like in the top 5%. You could be just a solid B student. Totally great. And that, to some colleges, that's what they want. Like, oh man, we want some really great students depending on where you went to school, et cetera, et cetera. Like you could be just a good student. Like you don't have to be top to qualify for merit-based. And I'll give you an example. Some colleges have a grid where they will tell you if these are your scores, speaking of test scores, then we will knock off this amount of money.
Wow.
So if you're over 1,500, say you're over 650 on the verbal SAT, we're going to knock off $2,500.
Well, that actually goes back to the point you were making a moment ago, that so many students are deciding not to bother submitting their scores. There's another Moneyball reason why you might choose to do so. If you could do that research in advance and discover, wow, this lowers the sticker price to this net price, that's huge. So is that something you're running into with your clients, where their kids are starting to look around and you're like, well, okay, let's do another piece of research here, because this gives you something to shoot for in terms of test scores?
Yes. Yeah, exactly right. So some of them will publish that grid so you know exactly what you're shooting for. And then if you're like within that striking distance, like, oh, I just have to improve by a tiny bit, why not spend a couple $100 on getting test prep to save yourself thousands of dollars, if they decide to go to that school?
Interesting. So you could, there's a new ROI for test prep.
There you go. Wow. The other thing is, and we aren't going to talk about too much here because I want to make sure to hit on a couple other points in terms of college costs. But really the framing for me these days, Matt, is you're shopping for colleges. And that's the way as the parents and as the family, you want to try to frame, hey, look, there's all these different colleges out there, these different opportunities. The student's going to be very interested in some of them, right? Being sold, some of these experiences. But you want to be smart and say, like, look, let's compare college A and college B, just like you would compare cars. Hey, they're both going to get me to the same place. Let's look at the features and what I'm going to get out of this. And you can do the same thing when it comes to shopping for colleges.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I will say that there is research out there that shows that, sure, for certain Ivy League schools, really, really big name schools, there might be some kind of an added bonus advantage to your career track. It's not a guarantee. But most of the time, for 99% of people going to universities and colleges out there, it's a lot more complicated, and you're probably getting to about the same place based on, luck and merit and circumstance. And so you really do need to decide on all of these other features.
Yeah. Like if you want to be a mechanical engineer, you can get that degree from a lot of different places that cost a variety, amounts. So be really careful. Before we move on from the financial aid, let me also go back to the scholarships. Not financial aid, but grants and scholarships can really start adding up. There's just so many organizations that provide, $1,000 here, $500 there, $2,000 here. And I've read stories that people got their full ride paid for. $30,000, $40,000. Maybe they had some need-based, financial aid, but they still had left 30 or 40 grand. And they got all of it covered by applying to just a lot of grants. Like that was the only way they were going to college, right? I can't afford this. I have to go out and find all this money. And you can apply for just a variety of things out there and get money. I know even our local town has a sports one. And it's like, hey, if you played sports, write an essay, tell us what you've done in town over your time growing up here in town, your youth leadership, being part of the community, and it ranges from $500 to $1,500, and all you have to do is apply.
That is interesting. That kind of thing exactly happened to me when I was in college. At the time, the annual was closer to like $30,000, $35,000, which was a lot. And in today's dollars, I'm sure equates to what you're seeing, with these high sticker prices. But I qualified for a $3,000 a year merit scholarship. I didn't even know that I had, but you know what? Like that was $3,000 that I didn't need to come up with in some other way, 10%, and 4 times 3,000 is a lot. At least it was at the time. So, yeah, I mean, these things are out there.
So Matt, let me go back to what you were asking before. What are the difference in prices, sticker price versus what students pay when it comes to public versus private schools? So Public schools might cost the average sticker price, the internet is telling me, is about $12,000 a year. This is for like 2 years ago, 2023, 2024. But the net after all the aid that we've been talking about is about $3,000 a year. Okay, so from about $12,000 down to $3,000. These are for public 4-year in-state.
12,000 down to 3,000.
Yep, average net price after aid. This is from the College Board 2023 Trends in College Pricing Report.
Wow, that is not as much.
Shockingly low. Well, what's interesting, right, Matt? We live in the state of Massachusetts, and community colleges are now free.
Wow.
Starting next year. They are all community colleges, and you can go to a 2-year community college and then transfer. So you can get a couple of years totally free and then transfer. In-state schools are still relatively inexpensive. Now, this is not. There's a bunch of great, schools. They're all great, but there's a bunch of big name ones, right? Especially in California, that are going to be a lot more expensive. So this is taken, across the whole U.S.
Wow.
But let's compare that to private. The average private sticker price is maybe $44,000 a year. So from $12,000 up to $44,000. All right. But the average net price, like we said, it's about half. So it's about 16, 17 grand.
Wow.
That people pay. So the difference is not as big between, public and private school. But again, your mileage may vary. Every individual student is completely their own data point. But that gives you some sense of, where we started the top of the show. Hey, the sticker price is 70 grand, 80 grand, 90 grand a year. It gives you a heart attack. How am I going to ever afford this? But realize there's a lot of ways of chipping away at that cost.
Well, before we do wrap this up with those closing takeaways, let's get to our listener question, which does tie in. Your listener wrote, should I spend my 529 for the first year or two or spread it out over the 4 years?
Yeah, so a lot of people have this question, like I've saved $30,000 in my 529. That's all I could afford, and the school is going to be over $100,000 over 4 years. Should I just use all $30,000, kind of right away, or should I spread it out? And my typical answer is I would spread it out. I'd spread it out over the first 3 years, maybe 3.5 years. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is kind of forces you to start spending from your income. Like, hey, we have to cover this 20 grand a year. You're not kicking the can down the road, so you're getting a little bit of help every year from your 529, but you're having to figure out other ways. Now, if you have to take out a lot of loans, that's not the best way. Like maybe delay the loans a little bit, use more of the 529 up front, delay the loans. But in general, I'd first look at spreading it out. The other reason for that is you're unlikely to have leftover money, and you probably, you saved it to spend on college. So let's go ahead and spend it on college. If something changes in the future, you've spent more of it a little bit more upfront. So that's why I say the first 3 years or so. One caveat to this, keep in mind, there's a couple of IRS credits, the American Opportunity Tax Credit, the Lifetime Learning Credit. These phase out at certain income levels. So if you're lucky enough to be making $300,000 or $400,000 a year, it won't apply. But if you're in the $150,000 a year, these are credits that you get to take off your taxes. But you can't double up. You can't pay 529 money and take the credit. Okay, so if you spend all, if school's 20 grand and you spend all 20 grand from your 529, you can't also apply for the credit.
I see. All right. Great. I mean, I like simple, definitive answers, and I trust you. So that makes a lot of sense. All right. Just to wrap this up before we get to our closing one thing segment, the take home message for people about all of this. I know we've said it already, but let's just nail it down. The take home message is,
you've got this. Sticker price minus, what you're going to actually pay is going to be way less. So take a deep breath. All right. Take a deep breath when you see, my student is thinking about going to these colleges, and you're looking at the prices and starting to get, having a heart attack and running for the liquor cabinet. Just slow down. Realize that a lot of aid will be coming your way. There's ways of applying for it. There's ways of getting it. It's going to really start chipping away at that sticker price, and you'll be able to handle it.
All right. Well, and yeah, I mean, a lot of news you could use today with like the research possibilities out there. That's all really good stuff. Okay, let's get to our closing one thing segment. And today it's kind of annoying, but really useful. It's check your settings. It is check your settings. And this came up because of kind of like a good finding that I stumbled into, which is I was trying to solve the problem of how to take a selfie without touching my camera. And I was looking into, can I get an app that I can control my iPhone from my desktop? Long story short, it turns out there's a setting for that. It's pretty easy. It's in your accessibility settings, and you can just tell your camera, like, tap photo, and it will take a selfie. And you can do all kinds of other verbal command things on your phone if you enable that setting. Great. Okay. That is unfortunately not all for the one thing segment, because there's a dark side of settings, and it involves intrubulating yourself with your wife. I discovered I was literally texting with my wife earlier today, and I was like, what's funny is when you text me, I don't get any notification. I get it from everyone else. And she was not thrilled with this piece of information, very suspicious. Turns out there is a setting in there, hide alerts from this individual. If you go into their contact settings, I had that toggled on. I'm going to blame my kids. I think they did it to me. I think this was an April Fool's gone wrong. But anyway, I hopefully fix that. Point being, it's annoying. I'm sorry, folks, but spend like 5 minutes just Googling. Have ChatGPT tell you what are some settings you should know about on your iPhone. It's worth it. Give yourself the 5-minute checkup. It'll pay off.
Check your settings. So you had to tell your wife you had blocked her. I'm sorry, honey. I just completely blocked you.
Yes, that is functionally what I had to do. It went great. It went really, really terrific. Yeah. Are your settings perfect? I mean, you're Mr. like, give yourself the 5-minute checkup. This is 5-minute
Fantastic.
Finance.
Here's the funny thing, as we might be helping our aging parents. Hopefully my mom doesn't listen to the show. We might be helping our aging parents, right? So I've been tech support for my parents for like decades.
Sure.
Like, oh, something's going on, right? And so mom will text me now and then, like, oh, this thing, come and check it when you have a chance. Well, now the great news, Matt, is I send my daughter over there to do all that. So like, she knows more than I do about the phone, and all, the settings are getting crazy on your phone. And so, yep, my mom had ended up blocking her home number on her cell. So like, if my dad's at home and calls her on the cell, it won't ring because the home number has been completely blocked on the cell phone.
You know what? You're making me feel so much better, because that's way worse than me inadvertently turning off notifications that my wife has texted me.
That's true. It's way worse, Matt, and she's way older than you.
Well, thanks. Now you made me feel bad again. Hey, you know what the worst part of this entire conversation is that I just advised people to use AI to explain to you how to go into your settings. This is like one of those science fiction stories where you get like machines to program the next set of machines. It's all out of human control. This is how the robots win. And I'm helping.
Yeah, they're coming.
I'm apparently on the side of the robots. All right, we better get out of here before the humans throw me off a bridge. For Mike Morton, I'm Matt Robison. We will see you next time.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for joining us on Financial Life Planning. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to and rate the podcast on Apple iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. It makes a massive difference. If you have a comment or question, please email me, mike@mortonfa.com. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be considered for investment advice. Opinions expressed are as of the date of recording. Such opinions are subject to change. I cannot guarantee the accuracy or completeness of the data presented here.